Welcome to our Rogers Christmas episodes. These are some specials that we're doing throughout the holiday season, and we are delighted to be able to present them to you here on Rogers TV20. And we're so grateful to the Rogers community for allowing us this opportunity to share the good news that we love to share here at St. Andrews. My name is the Reverend John Borthwick, and I'm the minister at St. Andrews, and it's been a delightful partnership. It's been one of those tiny little things of this past number of years, all the way back in 2020, when things went sideways and when everything was shutting down and was shut down. A dear lady in my congregation said, "Do you think Rogers would put on our Christmas show, our Christmas worship service? Is it possible, do you think? Would they even consider it?" And I wondered. I wasn't sure if they would. And you know what? I reached out and they said, "Absolutely. How many episodes do you want to do?" And we worked tirelessly. A couple of people and myself, Peter DeVries, who was my right hand all through the pandemic in the early stages around technology, him and I worked really hard to create something for Rogers. Maybe a little bit too hard. So the next year we tried something different. We have a new tech director. His name's Craig Clack, and we have a wonderful partnership with a gentleman named Paul who works with Flash Reel Media, and he's the big reason around all the post-production that happens for our Rogers episodes. So this season we've got 4 that we're working on, and wouldn't you know it, technology does its thing, and the times that we're living have also done those things. So there's been a few hiccups along the way. So I'm so grateful to be able to offer these services and these episodes to you. There's 4 of them. Let me tell you a bit about what they are. So the one you're about to watch is called "This Hour Has 28 Minutes." Maybe if you see the hint to CBC, and "This Hour is 22 minutes." It's a take. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be a little tongue-in-cheek. I do a few costume changes in it. And it's essentially to tell the Christmas story in a way that if a news media outlet was covering the birth of Jesus, how would that all go down? And so you're going to watch that one in this episode coming right up. We've also got 3 more episodes. There's an episode called "The ABCs of Christmas." That one's kind of maybe intended for children. It tells a simple message of the Christmas story all the way from A to Z or Z, whichever way you pronounce that last letter of the alphabet. And it's just a very simple retelling, and there's some music there, and it'll be a nice thing. Then we have a service that was meant to be just a medley of carols brought to you by our choir and our choir director, Fred Gingrich. Wouldn't you know it, things were challenging with our choir around health and wellness, and so what we're doing instead is giving you a rebroadcast of our Lessons and Carols service that we shared last year. Gives you a chance to sing some of the hymns along with our choir, but if you notice, a lot of the choir are masked and things maybe look a bit different or strange. Maybe even myself, the pandemic has not always been 100% good to me. I might look a bit different as well. Just know that it's from last year's service that we cut and paste and made into a service of basically lessons and carols, but something where you can sing along and do stuff like that. The last service that we're sharing is one called "A Blue Christmas." As this season sort of comes upon us, there's a real sense, a real push that everything about it is beautiful and great and lovely, and aren't we all just so happy and full of joy? And for so many, this is a difficult time of year. Whether it's about a loss that's happened this year, or maybe it's grief from many years gone by, whether it's family systems and all the challenges related to that, whether it's just the stress and anxiety of all the things going on, this might not be as happy a time of year for some. And so we wanted to acknowledge that and create a space for reflection and meditation, a service of simply words and visuals and music that's more somber in tone, just to give people a sense of rest. And that's an episode that we've produced called "A Blue Christmas." I hope you enjoy it and hope you're able to share it with some folks. So The service is about to start, or our episode is about to start. This hour has 28 minutes. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it with the fun that it's meant to be intended for, but also to tell a meaningful story of this season as well. If you're seeing this episode and it's not yet Christmas Eve, because I know that some of these episodes are being shown as Rogers goes on its sort of hiatus over the holidays, and so if you're seeing this episode and it's still maybe like a half hour before 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve night, you still have a chance. You can get to our service. It's in person, but it's also virtual. If you go to our website, www.standrewsguelph.com, you'll find it there. And you can join us at 8 p.m. on Christmas Eve and 10:30 on Christmas Day in the morning, 10:30 on Christmas Day. Hope you'll join us. Merry Christmas. Hello, it's John Ben Stan of Jerusalem 1, and I'm coming to you with some breaking news. Reports are flooding in that a Messiah, the reports are claiming the Messiah, or the Christ as they are calling him, has finally arrived in the area, in the small town of Bethlehem. Christ is a common word for the anointed one, the one we've been expecting for so long now. Details are yet to be confirmed. Scholars have been contacted to weigh in on this claim, and there's much debate about how this Christ will present himself, assuming it's a him. Early reports, again, I don't want to say too much, without confirmation, are that this him has just been born. A baby, then. So unless this is a very special baby, I guess we'll be waiting for a while longer until we see what comes of this very special boy. Now, this would be a huge change for our people, as if this really truly turns out to be true, we've only been waiting, well, it seems like forever. Just in this current situation we've been waiting for this promised Messiah since Pompey the Great conquered Judea some 63 years ago. A conquest that saw 12,000 Jews killed at the hands of Pompey's forces. Those who remember that far back will recall that Pompey also entered the Holy of Holies in our beloved temple to celebrate his victory, a sacrilege that many claim was avenged by Yahweh, the God of hosts, when Pompey was assassinated as he stepped onto Egyptian soil by one of King Ptolemy's officers. An act it was believed to gain the favor of the future, albeit brief, Julius Caesar, the emperor. The same Caesar, this Julius, I should say, uncle to our current Emperor Augustus, long may he reign, whom we credit for our relatively new calendar. People are actually saying that with all the buzz going around about this Messiah, born in that little town of Bethlehem, that the calendar might change again. Or if not change, it should at least start over. As if everything that has happened up until today is before the Christ. It seems that this Jesus, as they're calling him, is so big that from now on he will take center place in our calendar. It's like everything starts over once he is born. We will wait and see what the other great man, our King Herod, long may he reign, will have to say about that. Details at 11. We continue to receive reports of a Messiah, the one they are calling the Christ, has been born today in the sleepy town of Bethlehem. We reached out to the palace for a comment, but King Herod the Great, long may he reign, was unavailable. Palace insiders say that the King of the Jews is livid. Sources close to the king have shared that King Herod was overheard to say, "Over his dead body would some babe from Bethlehem claim his throne. Heads will roll." Rumors continue to circulate that the king is actually very ill with a painful affliction. This has the region wondering which of his sons will succeed him, and will they seek to make the name of Herod great again. Viewers will recall that this isn't the first time that threats and violence have sounded from within the palace in Jerusalem. Ever since Mark Antony and Caesar Augustus, long may he reign over us, teamed up after Julius, the original Caesar, was assassinated in the Senate, they made King Herod the king of this region. Since taking power, Herod has been cleaning house, literally murdering or personally killing several members of his family and extended family. We're all aware of the heavy taxation that Herod has instituted upon us since taking power, and we certainly have a lot to show for it, and we are certainly very proud. Long may he reign! The reconstruction of the temple, the great port at Caesarea Maritima, and let's not forget the fortress at Masada. Although one wonders who would ever try to attack there. It would take an engineering miracle to defeat anyone holed up in that magnificent castle. Herod the Great certainly has put Judea on the map. This just in. Oh, my goodness. Viewers, the king apparently is dying soon, but perhaps before the calendar changes. It seems that he has ordered a cohort of soldiers to Bethlehem, and no word yet as to why or what their purpose might be there. Hopefully that baby born in Bethlehem and his family find a safer place to settle. If it is true that Herod the Great is near death, I think he better get out of that town for a while. I hear Egypt is nice this time of year, and a great place to raise a baby. Here's hoping this alleged Christ doesn't have a run-in with one of those Herod's sons. It seems that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree in that familial one. We will keep you posted as more information comes in from the castle. Tonight, we have some breaking news. A new submission by one of our newest reporters on the Jerusalem One team. Luke is his name. Apparently, this is a new style of reporting, which this announcer, dear viewers, finds a little bit strange and unfamiliar. It seems to play free and loose with the timeline of events, violating one of the greatest truths of reporting, the all-important when. But the times, they are changing, and we must change with them, I suppose. For example, the Cub reporter Luke mentions in passing both the reign of King Herod, long may he reign, whom we all know died years ago, and the census announced by Quirinius that almost occurred a decade later. This is apparently to be expected in something they are calling the gospel, which doesn't seem to be too worried about truth when it comes to where and when things happen, but it says it speaks of a bigger truth, something that they are calling good news. I'm also hearing reports that they will change this Jesus birthday to something that fits better with our Julian calendar, as reported on earlier. Like those extra days at the end of the year that we get to party like it's 99 BC. The Roman party festival called Saturnalia. It's another one of those gospel things, I guess. And it doesn't seem to matter that it wasn't the actual day of his birth. So long as we get to celebrate, I guess what works best. Oh, I'm so glad that I'm close to retirement. This good news stuff seems for younger folks. But let's listen to this gospel from Luke. In those days, Caesar Augustus declared that everyone throughout the empire should be enrolled in the tax lists. This first enrollment occurred when Quirinius governed Syria. Everyone went to their own cities to be enrolled. Since Joseph belonged to David's house and family line, he went up from the city of Nazareth in Galilee to David's city, called Bethlehem, in Judea. He went to be enrolled together with Mary, who was promised to him in marriage and who was pregnant. While they were there, the time came for Mary to have her baby. She gave birth to her firstborn child, a son, wrapped him snugly, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the guest room. The nearby shepherds were living in the fields, guarding their sheep at night, and the Lord's angel stood before them, and the Lord's glory shone around them, and they were terrified. The angel said, "Don't be afraid. Look, I bring you good news. To you, this wonderful and joyous news is for all people. Your Savior is born today in David's city. He is Christ the Lord. This is a sign for you. You will find a newborn baby wrapped snugly and lying in a manger." Suddenly, a great assembly of the heavenly forces was with the angel, praising God. Sorry, I'm just getting. We have some. This just in. I believe we have a picture, an artist's rendering, I believe, of this scene described by Luke. They said, "Glory to God in heaven, and on earth peace among those whom he favors." When the angels returned to heaven, the shepherds said to each other, "Let us go back right now to Bethlehem and see what has happened. Let's confirm what the Lord has revealed to us." They went quickly and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in the manger. When they saw this, they reported what they had been told about this child. Everyone who heard it was amazed at what the shepherds told them. Mary committed these things to memory and considered them carefully. The shepherds returned home, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen. Everything happened just as they had been told. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Tonight, we have the exclusive from a woman who doesn't wish to be on camera. She's asked that we call her Mary, and she claims to be the mother of the one they are calling the Christ. I've been asked to read her account of the stranger who came to visit her and told her that she would bear God's child. This is her story. It all happened, Mary shares, that the one night when my father brought home a stranger, one whom he'd met in the public square. My mother was furious, but Father reminded us of Father Abraham entertaining 3 strangers very, very long ago. Father asked me to get the man some wine and some food while he went and calmed Mother down. I did as my father asked, and I kept my head down as I did so. Alone with a strange man was a frightening thing. I almost jumped out of my skin when the stranger broke custom, looked straight at me, and spoke to me. "Greetings," he said. "You are indeed highly favored. The Lord is with you." I thought he was teasing me, or perhaps trying to pick me up, I think they call it in the big cities. I didn't know what to say. I was so scared. But he told me not to be afraid, and then announced that I was going to have a son and that his name should be Jesus. But he also used my name. He called me Mary. How did he know my name? My father hadn't said his name in my presence. I was so fixated on the fact that he knew my name that I almost missed what he said was going to happen to me. Me? With child? Impossible, I told him, and I laughed and laughed, and to my shock, he replied, "I remember someone else who laughed when I told them they would have a son. Nothing is impossible for God," they declared. Now, I had been taught to be polite, so I simply said, "I am nothing but a simple servant, sir." And with that, I fled the room, leaving the man to drink his wine on his own. But when I returned, he was gone. I wondered long and hard about the strange things that this unusual man had told me, but I didn't say a word to anyone, at least until now. When I asked Father, where did he come from, Father replied, he never said. All that he told my father was his name, and he said his name was Gabriel. Well, viewers, what an amazing first-hand account of this young woman. A local artist named Da Vinci has come up with what we believe to be a composite sketch of the man described by Mary. Keep a lookout for someone fitting this description. If you see him, call the authorities immediately. Now, debate continues to circulate in her community as to who the real father of her child is, the one whom she's named Jesus. She should certainly be grateful that her fiancé, Joseph, decided to marry her. He would have been much in his right if he had decided to have her stoned to death for her indiscretion. More than likely with this strange man, who came to her house so many months ago. Although she denies it all, and she simply ponders these things in her heart. Well, we will continue to track this story and see what more becomes of this unusual couple, and this now Mother Mary, and her little boy, Jesus. Tonight, housing crisis in Bethlehem. People forced to sleep in stables. Babies found resting in mangers. Social service agencies are stretched to the limit. Calls for government intervention escalate. The situation is at a breaking point. People are crying out, "Lord, save us." Film at 11. Good evening. John Ben Stan reporting. Shepherds experience an extraterrestrial encounter. Tonight, hear firsthand from a shepherd who was there. In a new segment we are calling the S-Files. Well, I thought I was going to get abducted. We heard these voices, see? I know I had some mulled wine earlier, but it was real, I tell you. It was real. They said a baby in a manger. Peace on earth, they said. Can you imagine that? Huh, we knew it had to be some kind of dream or some kind of alien encounter. We haven't had peace on this earth in forever. So we talked amongst ourselves and we agreed, well, we should at least go and see if what they told us was true. So we started moving the flock until we came to Bethlehem. People didn't much like that. They never much like us. Why can people be so cruel? But we found the place where the couple was with their new baby among the livestock. This little guy that was in the manger, he seemed just like any one of us. I've seen babies before, and he didn't seem like any other baby, just the same kind of thing. I don't know what I was expecting, but here he was, in the muck of a cattle stall, and with all its bleating, baying, and stinking. Well, we told them what we saw and heard, and they just looked at us with wide eyes. I think the baby's mother recognized something, but the dad, well, he looked so overwhelmed, and he just kind of looked stunned, at least until one of the sheep made a mess of his bed. And another one bit him on the leg, and then he got right angry, and he booted us all out. Well, we couldn't help ourselves, though, after seeing such a wonderful little tyke. We just felt something deep inside. You know, maybe tonight things could be different. You know, babies do that to you. They give you hope, don't they? They make you feel like you've been given a fresh start, a blank slate, that you could start all over again. We carried on, though, throughout that little town, telling our story, shouting it out for all to hear. We didn't even care that the people thought we were bonkers. All we know is what we heard, and it feels like it could be true. Not only today, but for anyone who has been through a challenging season, through tough and trying times, feeling like the darkness is winning. What we heard, what we saw that night, told us, as the God's honest truth, I tell you, that a new day is dawning, that hope is on the horizon, that a fresh start is coming, and it's a chance to try something different. A light has come and is burning through this present darkness, like a baby's cry interrupting the silence of a winter's night. And that sounds like really good news to me. What about you?